Now, from the Kingdom of Nye, more Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Here again is Art.
Anyway, so then they take you from Groom Lake, the main facility, and incidentally, Bob, up on my website I've got a picture, a pretty good one, the best one I've ever seen, of the Groom Lake facility, and it shows what appears to be three large hangars, with the one in the center perhaps being the largest. Is that your recollection?
Three large hangars.
Yeah, three big hangars. There are a lot of other attendant buildings, but three rather large hangars.
I don't recall there being three, obviously large hangars on the approach in from Las Vegas, that stood out that much above everything else.
Okay.
I recall a huge satellite dish, but for the most part, most of the time I was going there at night and certainly didn't have a run of the place. All I did was get to go in. One time I got to go to the cafeteria, but other than that, it was merely a stop.
Toward S4.
Yeah, toward S4, but, I don't recall there being three large hangars, really, that stood out more than anything else.
Did you ever see anything unusual at all at Groom Lake?
The thing I did see that was unusual was some sort of advanced rocket or jet plane. People have called it Aurora. I don't know if it was Aurora or if it even exists. But John Andrews from the Tester Corporation and a few other aviation buffs kind of interviewed me more or less about that. It was something along the lines of an X-15 shaped type of craft. Now, we were driving away from this as it was taxiing, but it was a horrendously loud tearing sound that the engines made. And I think my original description was that it made it sound like the air was tearing, and that's the best description I could give to it. Now, I certainly have heard about the new generation of scramjet engines that have supersonic airflow inside that burn liquid methane and so on and so forth. Whether that was these, I don't know. But I did get a look up the exhaust as we were turning, and it was they were rectangular exhaust with some sort of vanes inside. That's all the information I can give, and what it was, I don't know. But that was the strangest thing I ever saw.
Do you recall the general shape of the aircraft? Was it close to what we would call a lifting body?
No, well, even though the X-15 was a lifting body, it was not a lifting body like you'd see on an F-16 or something, where there'd be a lot more wing incorporated into the body. It was more along the lines of a long, slender body, maybe a cross between an F-104 and an X-15, for those people that are familiar with those planes. Very short, stubby wings, which translates to me, high speed of rotation, high flight speed, and things like that. But, again, I didn't get a very good look at it, and I don't know, it could have been anything, a scientific research vehicle or anything. I'm certainly not claiming that was Aurora. But sometime later, some of those people were down in Rachel, and they heard and recorded a sound that they interpreted as the sky tearing and played it back to me, and it was, in fact, the identical sound. So a couple of years later, it was still operational, whatever that thing was. But that was the only unusual thing I ever saw there.
All right, so you landed, and they generally then, you would, I guess, get off on the tarmac there and get right on a bus?
Yeah. Well, straight across from where the plane parked, head end, straight across from there in kind of a large parking area was the security building, and that's where we picked up the bus and went south. The first time I did go in, and it was an extensive little get-together with the security people there, and signed all kinds of strange forms that...
Were there a lot of people on the bus?
No, not going down to S4. Generally, the person that accompanied me all the time was Dennis Mariani, who was my supervisor at that time.
Okay. And so then they had you sign all kinds of forms. What kind of forms?
Well, everything from virtually signing away my constitutional rights. So should anything go wrong as far as me spilling my guts,
spilling your guts, yep.
They would, essentially be judge, jury, and executioner. As far as the authorization to attain the clearance there, that was an order that was signed by President Reagan, which I saw on the desk. I'm trying to remember some of the other paperwork. Beforehand, I gave permission to have my phone lines monitored.
Boy. And can you remember any of the wording? I mean, you said you signed something that would allow them, if you blabbed, to be judge, jury, and
well, I had signed something like that. I mean, that may be a slight exaggeration of how the wording was, but certainly I signed, I'm trying to remember what it was, like a 10-10 agreement. If you've heard that before, I don't remember the exact title of the document, but, it says if you violate, national security secrets, it's 10 years in jail and a $10,000 fine. Does that sound familiar to you?
It does.
That before.
It does.
I've signed something like that before, but this was certainly far above and beyond that, which was kind of shocking, actually. But at the time, you pretty much just blow it off and say all this means is that I'm going to be involved in something, extremely interesting, and
sure.
It's great. So what? I have no intention of violating any rules or causing any problems. So there's no sweat.
No, I understand. I mean, by that time you're probably tantalized, thinking this.
Oh, really? I was, certainly pumped up.
It's going to be real fun.
Exactly.
All right. So you sign all the forms, including one to tap your phone, huh?
Right. They did. That was again before I went down there. That was down at EG&G, and I gave them permission to do that. But that was only for a limited amount of time. I don't recall how long that was for. And Bob, to me, that's kind of a silly thing to do in the first place, because if you're going to monitor my phone, why tell me? It kind of defeats the purpose.
Maybe because otherwise they have to go through some sort of legal procedure and get some sort of court something or another. So
yeah, but you would think in the interest of national security they could circumvent all that, but...
well, they probably do, actually.
Who knows?
when they need to.
I had actually doubted that they were actually doing that. Once in a while everyone hears little clicks and pops and buzzes on their phone, and, I really didn't think that was it. And,
my view is a good tap is one you never hear.
Well, this is my point exactly. Sometime later, I guess we'll get into that. But when things turned sour, actually before they did, they had come to my house 30 minutes after I got off the phone with Gene one day.